So what is the process like becoming a minister of death that prays for war? I can tell you right now it isn't easy. However, I can also tell you that it has its moments of outright absolute hilarity. Yes, it can actually be kind of fun. However, for the most part, it's just good old-fashioned, off-the-wall, crazy, and chaotic. But it can also be quite rewarding. However, it's still very, very much an experience. An experience that some men find, well, let's just say extremely difficult. But boot camp or recruit training is the process of which a man learns to become not so much a better man or a better version of himself, but a cog in a machine. A machine that is designed for war, a machine that is designed to kill. USMC can stand for all kinds of things. It could stand for you sign the motherfucking contract, or it could also stand for Uncle Sam's misguided children, or you suck as Miss Christmas. Either way though, when you sign that dotted line and you go to Paris Island, South Carolina, or San Diego, California, you definitely enter a brand new world, a brotherhood of sorts. But does the dehumanizing process which makes a man a United States Marine, does it cost this person their soul? Well, we'll be exploring that as we look at the first half of the film Full Metal Jacket, or at least, well, what many people believe to be the better half, the boot camp section. Hey guys, before we fully dig into this, just a couple of quick things. Don't worry, we will get back to the video essay here in a second. It will be done in 3 separate phases. We'll get to that here momentarily. But just a couple of quick things. Number one, this right here is going to be part 1 of a 3-part series. The second part is going to be featured on the Vietnam portion of the film. The third one is going to be on the Animal Mother Gomer Pyle connection. 2 more very, very quick things. The original video that I did on this particular film, which is more about the actual point, the purpose, what Stanley Kubrick was trying to get across in the film, that video will be linked in the comment section. And the last thing I want you guys to know about is that if you guys see this right here inside one of the clips, that right there is one of the ways to help bypass YouTube's content ID scheme, and also to go on top of that, it's one of the better ways to defeat copyright here on this platform. YouTube's copyright scheme, with which, by the way, many people believe is broken, it's actually doing what it is intended to do. I'll probably link this video right here in the description box for you guys to give you guys some more information on it. However, with that right there out of the way, please hit the like button, subscribe, share, and let us go ahead and get back to the essay. So heads get shaved, and you're automatically thinking to yourself, my God, this right here is going to be a breeze, but
guess what, motherfucker?
the recruits are immediately introduced to the senior drill instructor, Gunnery Sergeant Hartman, who, by the way, in the book was Gunnery Sergeant Gerheim. And let's just go ahead and say that our weak recruit has pretty much already been found out. That right there, of course, being Leonard Lawrence, and I'll give you guys a quick little theory on that towards the end of the essay. But yeah, Leonard Lawrence is renamed Gomer Pyle. As a matter of fact, everybody gets a new nickname. The one black recruit that we see is renamed Snowball, of course, Joker, because of, well, life. Still, though, absolutely hilarious.
What's that?
I wish I could play more.
Who the fuck said that? Said it, sir.
Absolutely hilarious.
I admire your honesty. Hell, I like you. You can come over to my house and fuck my sister. You little scumbag! I got your name. I got your ass. You will not laugh. You will not cry. You will learn by the numbers.
And then eventually Cowboy. Now, real quick, if you've ever been to Paris Island or MCRD San Diego, chances are you already know what it's like, especially in Phase 1. Now, bear in mind, this film was based on the 1960s, and I can assure you right now that you don't just get one drill instructor in your face, you get sometimes 3 or 4. There are drill instructor videos out there, compilations, fails that are absolutely hilarious, and I advise you guys go check them out, especially if you were interested and you never served. And believe me when I tell you, it is definitely more chaotic than what you see in this film, but obviously in Phase 1, we see who our weak recruits are, and in this case right here, this right here is all put on Gomer Pyle, Leonard Lawrence, Private Pyle, whatever you might want to call it. Still, though, at the same time, Pyle endures the harsh treatment from Gunnery Sergeant Hartman, while other recruits, let's just say, they begin to catch on, and they're obviously much, much further ahead than Pyle. Real quick, I want to go ahead and point this out before we go any further. If you have been in the Marines, then you can attest to this. The part that you guys see with the jelly donut, where Pyle is forced to watch all the other recruits get slayed, that actually happens at Paris Island and MCRD San Diego. Just saying. This right here is the beginning stage of becoming a cog in a greater machine. This right here is the beginning stage, the breakdown stage, the moment that these people break you down and then try to rebuild you back up. However, the building back up starts in phase 2, which we'll get to here in a second, but the point is this right here. Pyle has already been viewed as the weak recruit. More on him in a second, but eventually, as you guys can see, yeah, it doesn't exactly get any better, and the platoon starts to suffer for his sake. But obviously, Pyle has a hard time catching up to everything. Pyle has a hard time, let's just say, he's not exactly having a good go of it. But then something starts to happen in phase 2. We get to phase 2, and Pyle continues to struggle. Eventually, Joker is tasked with, well, basically getting Pyle back on track. I mean, even forced to even bunk with Joker is Pyle, but the thing is this right here. You got to ask yourself a question. Can this, like, blob, tub of goo, this person who's obviously struggling, can this person even improve? Well, in the book, he actually does, but we'll talk more about that towards the end. The point is this right here. Pyle is struggling, but Pyle is not entirely a lost cause. If you are a Marine, you've probably heard of the recruits that somewhat sort of slip through the cracks. I'm sorry, but I don't fully buy into that. My first week at Parris Island, I actually broke my foot, was put in an air cast, and basically on light duty the first week, but yet still got through Parris Island. And yes, I will even admit that I was a bit of a Pyle myself. However, I need to say this really quick, because I'm sure that most recruits, if you actually sit back, or most Marines, if you actually sit back and think about your time in recruit training, chances are you will probably think to yourself, well, we had more than one Pyle. Yes, you more than likely had more than one Pyle. There were probably several Pyles. And every now and again, you will get a time where it is that one of these Pyles will get paired up with someone like a Joker, someone to kind of get him back on track. And initially, it does kind of take. Now, granted, that experience is not for every single Marine, but still, though, at the same time, and of course, I'm talking more from my perspective and the guys that I serve with, the point is this right here. There's always going to be that 1, that 2, that 3, maybe even that 6 or 7 that do in fact struggle. However, some of these men do in fact make improvements. Pyle begins to improve as far as he starts to learn how to disassemble his rifle and reassemble his rifle. He even improves a little bit in drill. And there's also the sequence where he makes his rack, and of course also to go on top of that, there's also the boot scene where of course he's relacing his boots. But then again though, at the same time though, that right there also brings up another question, and that right there would be, what was Pyle doing before he decided to sign the contract? Well, let me just kind of look at this one more time. So you mean to tell me that he had a hard time even lacing his own boots? Every man, especially in the 1960s, would have at least learned how to lace their shoes. Makes me wonder if maybe it's possible that Pyle could have slipped through the cracks when it came to the topic of recruiting. I mean, it was the Vietnam War, and all volunteers and draftees were being taken. Nevertheless, it doesn't fully take, and of course we get the infamous jelly donut scene, which, by the way, has my favorite line in the film.
It is an unlocked footlocker! You know that, don't you?
Sir, yes, sir!
If it wasn't for dickheads like you, there wouldn't be any thievery in this world, would there?
Sir, no, sir!
Hartman scorns the recruits, and Pyle, of course, sits there and watches while the rest of the platoon gets slayed. This right here, of course, all happens before rifle range, and of course, there's also this scene right here where Joker literally has to button Pyle's blouse. So you mean to tell me that he couldn't button his blouse? Well, let me just go ahead and just kind of talk about that for a very, very quick second. So the platoon has been getting slayed, or they're about to get slayed a lot more because Pyle is still not on track. It's been roughly 4 to 5 weeks in the process. He's still not on track. And of course, to go on top of that, Hartman is holding the recruits accountable for Pyle not being on track. So the thing is this right here, chances are Joker is probably buttoning his blouse because he knows that Pyle is going to screw up somewhere and it's going to get the platoon slayed. Then again though, the facial expressions of Pyle and the fact that, well, let me just play some of it for you guys, Header is going to be over it.
Joker. Everybody hates me now. Even you.
Nobody hates you, Leonard. You just keep making mistakes, getting everybody in trouble.
I can't do anything right. I need help.
I'm trying to help you, Leonard. I'm really trying. Tuck your shirt in.
I actually understand Leonard's feelings. I actually feel his pain, especially given the fact that I was a bit of a fuck up myself. But the facial expressions to me, the body language, if you've ever seen the film, and of course I'm replaying some of the clip for you guys, the B-roll footage, it screams childlike. Not to mention, and we'll talk about that a little bit more here in a second, but it just says to me that he probably should not have joined or been drafted. Just saying. Brings us to the blanket party scene. Now guys, really quick, I want to say this while this part is playing in the B-roll footage. I joined the Marines in November 2003. I went through Paris Island, and the topic of a blanket party did come up. Our senior drill instructor shot that down right away. They don't happen as often as they used to, and I'm not going to dive too much into the hazing situation, but still the point is this right here. I highly doubt that a blanket party occurs, and I got to be honest with you guys, a big part of me feels that this right here is quite cowardly. You are beating this guy up in his sleep. Of course, you could actually PT the shit out of this guy, or, you know, but still, though, I think that there are much, much more effective ways than actually utilizing a blanket party. However, the thing is this right here. It's Joker's facial expression after Joker lays into Pyle. Then that whine. Ow! Sounds almost childlike. And Joker putting his hands over his ears almost feels to me like maybe he knows that Pyle is childlike. It just seems to me like everybody knows that Leonard Lawrence, also called Leonard Pratt in the book, is not exactly there. He's somewhat slow. It's almost like you have an 18 or 19-year-old man right there, but like an 11 or 12-year-old is trapped in his body. Maybe not even that old. That right there is what it feels like. But moving on. Of course, something happens to Leonard when we get to Phase 3, so let's go ahead and talk about that. What happens in Phase 3 is that Leonard begins to improve. I mean, Hartman even tells him that he may have a job in the Marine Corps as a rifleman, or he may allow him to serve as a rifleman in his beloved Corps.
How many counts in that movement you just executed?
Sir, 4 counts, sir.
What's the idea looking down in the chamber?
Not giving the inspecting officer a loaded weapon, sir.
What's your 5th general order?
Sir, the private's 5th general order is to quit my post.
Oh, you are definitely born again hard. Hell, I may even allow you to serve as a rifleman in my beloved Corps.
Sir, yes, sir.
He is, in fact, born again hard. Now, this type of transformation in boot camp, I would think that maybe it is possible, but then again, though, for a lot of recruits, especially those who struggle in Phase 2, some of them actually do begin to improve. As a matter of fact, just kind of throwing something else anecdotal out there, because as I mentioned before, I was a bit of a Pyle myself, I actually began to improve right around the rifle range, which of course you should be improving anyways. Not every single recruit gets it right away, but then again, though, some are a little bit faster, as you guys can obviously see. It's really more about how fast a recruit adjusts, as in adjust to the chaos, which makes me want to throw one more very, very quick nugget out there. One of the reasons why it is that the drill instructors are in your face, sometimes 1, 2, 3, and in some cases even 4 at a time, is actually to get you uncomfortable, or at least get you used to the idea of potentially going to hand-to-hand combat. I read that in the book On Combat by Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman. Very, very good read, and as a matter of fact, a lot of his books are in fact very good, but one of man's biggest fears is actually having hand-to-hand combat, as in being in war and not having your gun, or having the inability to reach your gun and having to get into the mud and the blood with your adversary. Part of this right here is designed to not only get you used to the chaos, which we'll be talking more about in video number 2, but also it is designed to get you used to the idea of somebody being in your face and, of course, shaking out all that uncomfortability. Just figure out what's it before we go any further. But eventually, the recruits all graduate. And, of course, if you've seen the film, then you know what happens next. Leonard, final night on the island, goes into the head, has his rifle, and eventually, well, I can't show you everything that happens here, or else YouTube will nuke the channel into the shadow realm, but yes, he does in fact unalive himself and kill drill instructor Gunnery Sergeant Hartman in the process. So what happened to Pyle? Before we answer that question, just a very, very quick little montage of what Pyle has gone through. Here you go.
Sir!
Do you think I'm cute, Private Pyle? Do you think I'm funny?
Sir, no, sir!
That stupid-looking grin off your face, or I will gouge out your eyeball. Fuck you! You can get up there, couldn't you?
Sir, yes, sir!
Your ass looks like about 150 pounds of chewed bubble gum, Pyle. You know that?
Sir, yes!
If God wanted you up there, he would have miracled your ass up there by now, wouldn't he?
Sir, yes, sir!
Get your fat ass up there, Pyle!
Sir, yes, sir!
Move it! I'm gonna rip your balls off so you cannot contaminate the rest of the world!
Especially
Sir,
like the part
you
where he
sure,
said,
Private
"You can come over
Pyle?"
my house
Sir,
and
yes,
fuck my
sir.
sister." I think that's
Jesus H. Christ! I think you've got a heart off!
anything, but my God, that right there. Somebody has said that right there. So obviously Pyle went through the ringer. Guys, right now I'm showing you some stuff right in the B-roll footage, and I've decided to split up the clips. Eventually, if you guys remember correctly, when Joker, of course, got to that scene where he basically said that he did not believe in the Virgin Mary, when he was eventually tasked with taking care of Pyle or getting Pyle back on track, Joker, of course, obviously took a much, much softer approach, almost a motherly type approach. Now, I want to say this really quick, and there are other people out there who have made, let's just say, video essays on this film who've basically said the exact same thing. Of course, they tend to believe that this film is about the duality of man. I personally believe it's more about the chaotic nature of war itself, which we'll talk more about in video number 2. But the point is this right here. Joker was molded by Hartman. Hartman was a drill instructor, probably had been a drill instructor for years and had been used to this. He may have even seen action in Korea, if you want to go as if to say this is actual real life. But the point is this right here. Joker was shaped by Hartman, where Pyle, on the other hand, was shaped by both a masculine and also a feminine figure. That's not to say that Joker is a girly man or anything like that. There, basically what I'm trying to say to you is that Joker, for the most part, maintained a good portion of his own humanity, while at the exact same time taking a much, much softer approach. And somewhere in there, this right here kind of caused a bit of an explosion. Or that right there is the theory that most people love to go with when talking about this film. I, on the other hand, tend to stick with Stanley Kubrick let us know from the very, very beginning that Leonard Lawrence, aka also known as Leonard Pratt, also known as Gomer Pyle, was going to die from the very beginning. Bear with me as before I close this video out. So the prevailing theory, and you'll see this in video number 3 when I talk about the Animal Mother Pyle connection, the prevailing theory is that Pyle was well on his way to becoming the ultimate Marine, that right there being Animal Mother. And like I said, we'll talk more about that in video number 3, but that right there has always been the prevailing theory. However, the thing is this right here. I believe that what happened in this case was that Leonard Lawrence just was not supposed to be in the United States Marine Corps, and of course assuming this right here is real life. There's even a bit of a shift like this in the book. But the thing is this right here. Stanley tells us at the very, very beginning, every one of the recruits have been renamed, even though you never actually got their names, with the exception of Snowball, Private Brown, and also Leonard Lawrence. Okay, Leonard Lawrence. He gave us the name Leonard Lawrence. Also in the book, Leonard Pratt. First and last name. That's the only character throughout this entire story that which their first and last name was given up. So it's almost like Kubrick was trying to tell us that this person was not going to make it. Going back to the blanket party scene, going back to everything you guys have seen over the course of the film, over the course of this video essay, Pyle is quite childlike. I mean, the guy wasn't even allowed to button his own blouse out of fear of potential screw up. But if you look at his face during that moment, and I got to bring it up again, he almost looks like he really does not know what he is doing. He's overly concerned about what the other recruits in the platoon think. There's oftentimes little triggers, little cues, like for example, his thumb is in his mouth, his pants were down at one point in time. He was never viewed as an actual man. It was not only until he became born again hard that he actually began to grow up a little bit. And while the characters in this film are definitely young men, not fully full-grown men, yes, that right there is the point. This right here is a child in a room full of grown-ass men. One that was obviously slow and was probably lagging in the intelligence quotient department. Basically, the point here is, especially with the boot camp section, that sometimes the dehumanizing process is not meant for everyone. That is basically the point behind the first half of the film Full Metal Jacket. Many people have interpreted this in multiple other ways. I'll even give you guys another example before I close the book out. Life is a Story, in his film The Price of Change, basically suggested that Pyle was a character in which he basically compared the film to the show Westworld. I don't view it in the same exact lens, but I do believe that he was definitely onto something, especially in his review, which I will link in the description box. There are also other ones that have talked about this very topic, or at least the boot camp section, and they've also brought the whole duality man thing. But my honest interpretation is that I believe that the first half of the film was, for the most part, exactly what Pyle said his goal was to be. To weed out all non-hackers, and Kubrick may have told us at the very beginning that there would be non-hackers that would try to enter the College of the Phony Tough. I mean, it's almost like somebody just took Pyle's brain out and just replaced it with like something else. It's almost like removing a chip and putting another chip in. It's almost like it was that fast. However, I don't think that was the case. I believe what happened is that when they finally got to something that he at least felt somewhat familiar with, where he could actually get some aggression out and harness that aggression, I think it was the rifle range. The drill and everything else just happened to improve, but after a while, if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, you're bound to improve at it. So I think that right there is a much more plausible explanation for Pyle's sudden improvement. However, for his mind going the way it did, well, that one right there, of course, has been the subject of several different interpretations. You guys tell me what you think in the comment section. I would love to hear what you guys have got to say. Make sure you guys please hit that like button, subscribe, share the video. The second video will be out probably a week after this one right here. I'm probably going to have this video posted up for next Saturday, but of course it's got to go through the YouTube content ID system, the copyright checks, all that type of stuff there. But still, though, it's going to be out probably in a week or two. Still, though, if you guys can, please hit the like button, subscribe, share, and there will be more videos to come. And thank you guys for sticking around for as long as you have. We are officially back here on Gear Issue 33, also known as the Krusty Ole Vet, and I'll see you guys later.